So in many parts of the world, farmers and resource managers are using livestock to heal the land. And in a lot of cases, they're using livestock and rotational grazing practices to reverse desertification. And just the process of how ruminant animals move across the landscape, grazing the tips off the grass, putting out manure, and then moving on. And that's how they built the soil in the Great Plains of North America. It was herds of bison being chased by wolves, so the bison were always on the move. They were less likely to overgraze. And because of that, it really had a massive population. Tens of millions of bison or buffalo were once in North America. And it was the backbone of the indigenous populations wherever there was buffalo. And now they're mostly gone. But we have to recognize that the landscape, even in Nova Scotia, was once dominated by large herbivores. So in Nova Scotia, right now, the largest herbivore for 99% of the province is the white-tailed deer, which is an introduced species. Historically, pre-1920, this whole area was full of caribou and moose and much larger herbivores. And also, when you have caribou, you have herds. So unlike moose, where it's usually just the mother caring for a calf or two, caribou, especially woodland caribou, probably traveled in groups of 20 to 40, maybe even upwards of 100. It's hard to say what things were like before European settlement. The point I'm trying to make is 200 years ago, when we had an abundance in our fisheries and in our woodlands that we can't even imagine today, the landscape was dominated and developed by large herbivores, biological processes. They were building soil, and it probably allowed the development of a type of floodplain forest that really doesn't exist anymore in the province. And we're down in a floodplain here today. It's towards the end of April, and a lot of people might say, well, you shouldn't be grazing at all in the floodplain. You should let it revegetate. Here's the problem. Grass thrives off of bacteria in the soil, and trees thrive off fungi. And fungi gets outcompeted by bacteria in the soil. So one way we can actually build up fungi is through building up of organic matter. And organic matter seems to be the anchor for which fungi can overcome bacteria-laden soils. And this is beneficial bacteria. I'm not saying it's bad, but what I'm trying to say is what we're doing here is we're rotationally grazing this old floodplain with a few sheep and a couple of yearling cows. They're putting fertility back into the soil, and we're hopefully, and I know it's going to happen, we're going to rebuild the organic matter in here, and we have trees planted in here and they're caged off. And I'm sure in the long run, what we're doing here will have a positive impact, and the floodplain forest will eventually return, and a river system right next door here will be all the better for it, as will the salmon and all the other creatures. So we just have to be careful in this day and age where anything to do with agriculture or the raising of animals for meat is really demonized as anti-environment. It all comes down to management. It's not the cow, it's the how. So with that in mind, I thought I'd just do a little video on what we're doing here, and hopefully everyone enjoys it, and feel free to leave your comments below.